It's time for a Wellness Revolution. Brought to you by Hotze Health and Wellness Center. Honest discussion on maintaining health and wellness naturally to enjoy a better quality of life.
He's the doctor fighting to let you keep your doctor.
Now, Dr. Stephen Hotze. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution podcast is brought to you by Physicians Preference Pharmacy, formerly Hotze Pharmacy.
Welcome to Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution. I'm Stacy Banfield here with Dr. Stephen Hotze, founder of the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. If you haven't done so, download our podcast. So full of interesting information. You can go to hotzepodcast.com. That's Hotze podcast.com. Finally, this is a subject that I find so fascinating, and it is the 6 reasons that men don't understand women with regards to hormones. So I have been waiting for this for a long time, Dr. Hotze. So explain to the men 6 things they should know about women's hormones.
Well, first thing I want to explain to the men is that you never want to ask your wife or your sweetheart, do you think it could be your hormones? You only ask that question one time. But it's important for you to understand in your wife or sweetheart's life that she will have some changes related to her hormones that you need to understand so you can understand what may be causing the problems about which she's complaining. You don't have to tell her it's her hormones, but it'll help you understand what's going on. Now, I'm Dr. Steve Hotze, of course, and I believe that you and everybody needs to have a doctor and a staff of professionals who can coach you onto a path of health and wellness naturally, who have the wherewithal, who have the skill, who have the knowledge to do that without using pharmaceutical drugs. So as you mature, no matter what age you are, we're all maturing as long as we're alive, you want to feel healthy and well. You want to be brimming with energy, full of vim and vigor, and be enthusiastic about life, okay? If that makes sense with you, stick with us. So today we're going to talk about 6 symptoms that women may mention or complain about or exhibit that are referable to hormones. And so the first thing I want to talk about is energy. In order to have a vibrant, fulfilling life, you've got to have energy. Every cell in your body, and you have, 70 trillion plus or minus cells, plus or minus 5 trillion cells in your body, and every one of those cells has power plants within them that produce energy, and that energy is electrical energy, and that power plant is called the mitochondria. So the nutrients that you consume from your food and that you get into your cells, plus the oxygen, plus your hormones, plus the vitamins and minerals, all enable your power plants to produce electrical energy, which then drives the biochemical processes in the cells so the cells can function and make the proteins and all the various biochemical products necessary to give you life. And when the cells are healthy and full of energy, your organs are going to be full of energy and you're going to feel well and be healthy and well. When your energy production within your power plants or the mitochondria is low, you'd be called or thought of as a low voltage individual, okay? And when you have low energy, you're not going to function as well or feel as well. And it will have adverse effects upon your overall health and wellness. So our goal here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center is to enable your cells, your mitochondria within your cells, your power plants, to produce high levels of voltage, high levels of electrical energy, so you'll be a live wire. And you'll feel good. Now, hormone decline has an adverse effect on your body's ability to produce and use energy. And so in women, as they mature, their hormone levels begin to change. And this happens on a monthly basis with each cycle. So a woman will enter puberty and begin to have her sex hormones develop, and they work to balance things out. She'll hit a prime in her early 20s, and then as she moves through her menstrual life all the way to 50, she'll have changes in hormones as she has pregnancies, and then when she hits mid-30s to early 40s, her hormones begin to decline, and the 2 hormones that we talk about primarily that are female hormones, although they exist in males as well, but they're the primary hormones in females, would be the estrogen hormones, estriol, estradiol, estrone, as well as progesterone. And they're balancing out every month. First half of the month and all month, a woman's making estrogen hormones. Mid-cycle, she would ovulate and then make progesterone to balance the estrogen. But as a woman marches through her menstrual life, and this can happen right at puberty. It doesn't just happen, late in menstrual life or menopause. Hormonal changes can occur, and every woman's different, and depending upon what chemical she's been exposed to, what her genetic makeup is, the hormones are going to differ from woman to woman. She'll have the same hormones, but women are going to, there's a bell-shaped curve. And most women are going to fall on the average, but you have the outliers on both sides.
And we have seen young women come into our center who have real issues with energy and never been regular.
Right, and their hormones are out of balance. So those hormones regulate the menstrual cycle, but they also help regulate the energy production. When women's hormones are out of balance and she has too much estrogen compared to progesterone, that adversely affects her ability to properly utilize thyroid hormones. And the thyroid hormone, made from the thyroid gland in the neck, is the hormone that catalyzes the power plants to produce energy. Think of the thyroid hormone as a spark plug, so to speak. And you got to have enough spark plugs in your cells to be able to catalyze the production of energy. And when the female hormones get out of balance, that's going to adversely affect her ability to assimilate her thyroid hormones and enable her thyroid hormones to activate energy within the cell. And what happens, this is called estrogen dominance, or the converse, opposite side, is progesterone deficiency. When this occurs, no matter what the age, whether it's at puberty, whether it's in the mid-20s, after childbirth, as she marches through the menstrual life and gets into her late 30s and early 40s, the hormones begin to decline and become imbalanced. So when that estrogen hormone becomes the dominant hormone, even if it's declining, it's the dominant hormone. It causes the liver to produce high levels of thyroid binding globulin, which is a protein that binds up the thyroid hormone so it can't be utilized properly. So that's why the woman in your life may be having low energy problems. And the probable cause, as she marches through her menstrual life, is that she has female hormone imbalance, as well as decline in her ability to utilize thyroid hormones. Also, as she marches through her menstrual life, as she matures, the adrenal glands, which are located above the kidneys, and which produce the hormone cortisol, which is our natural anti-inflammatory hormone, that begins to decline. And that adversely affects the thyroid as well as the sex hormones. So the hormones really work synergistically together. When we think of hormones here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, the primary hormones that we work on replenishing and balancing are the thyroid hormones, the sex hormones, and the adrenal hormones. And as these decline, energy level declines. I can also tell you, too, that eating improperly, eating high simple carbohydrate diet, can also lead to a decline in energy production. So it causes, inevitably, weight gain, which can lead to high blood pressure and diabetes and heart disease and kidney disorders. So energy level, first and foremost, is going to be based upon your hormones, but also your eating habits. If you eat a healthy lifestyle where you minimize or eliminate simple sugars and simple carbohydrates like pizza, pasta, bread, cereals, rice, potatoes, etc., those things that are converted to sugar, you will feel a whole lot healthier.
Basically, the ketogenic diet is what you're...
ketogenic diet is what I recommend, and what I think is we found to be very beneficial in most of our guests who do it, who try it, enjoy that ketogenic eating program. And we'll talk about that. I've had a podcast on that, but basically that's where you eat a high-fat diet, and cut out all your simple carbs, eat a lot of green vegetables and a minimal amount of meat. But you make sure you get plenty of good, healthy fats in your system. And if you do, guess what? Those healthy fats, like eggs or butter or bacon or olive oil or fish oil or coconut oil, avocados, cheeses, olives, and those products that have a lot of good, healthy oil and fat in them, cause the stomach to produce an enzyme called cholecystokinin, which signals to the brain that you're not hungry anymore. It satisfies. So it's fats and oils are much better to consume to produce energy than it is for sugar, because sugar burns up very quickly and you get sugar highs and sugar lows. Okay. Second thing that the woman in your life may be experiencing and having a difficulty is with weight. And obviously, that's nothing you want to discuss with the...
Honey, does this make me look fat?
No, you look skinny, baby. You look, those stripes going up and down make you look great. But so as you know, no, women don't want to gain weight, but they know what happens over time, particularly as they march through their menstrual life, particularly after they have children, they get hormonal imbalances. Guess what? They begin to experience weight gain. Well, weight gain is related to just what I talked about. It's the imbalance in the female hormones and a decline in natural thyroid within the cell, within the mitochondria, power plants of the cells, so that so less energy is produced. Well, what do you think? If you have low energy, you got low metabolism. So you can eat the same amount of food, but now you're gaining weight. And if you're eating the wrong kind of food, you're quickly gaining weight, and you're converting all that sugar and the simple carbohydrates to fat.
However, I'm so glad, Dr. Hotze, you're talking about this, because that is such a point of frustration for a lot of women out there. You feel like you are eating right, you are exercising, and we've seen that so many times where they come to us and they're like, I am exercising, I am eating right, I am unable to lose the weight, and that is a frustrating thing. So it's probably a little reassuring to people out there to hear, well, that's not your fault. That can be hormone related that affects your weight and makes it a losing battle.
Right.
Because you've got that hormonal imbalance.
And unfortunately, when you go to many conventional doctors, there are many doctors that'll just give you a diet pill, which are just amphetamines. And next thing you know, you're hooked on amphetamines, which have a host of health problems. So that's not the solution of the problem. The solution of the problem is to have your cells producing more energy. How can you do that? Balance out your sex hormones and adrenal hormones and make sure you're getting adequate amount of thyroid hormone. Now, I believe this, anybody that has the symptoms of low thyroid, no matter what their blood test says, deserves a therapeutic trial of thyroid. And we've treated over 30,000 individuals, males and females, here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center with natural desiccated thyroid with marvelous results. Next thing we see, or you might notice, is what women describe to me as brain fog. They feel like they lose their mental acuity, their mental sharpness, their ability to remember things and details, and they're not as good at their task and getting things done as they used to done because they're not thinking as clearly as they used to think. Now, what does that have to do with hormones? It has everything to do with hormones, because the hormones, both in males and females, affect our neurotransmitters, affect the signals in our brain that enable us to think clearly. Remember, they also affect our ability to produce energy. So if you're producing low energy, your brain's going to be functioning at a lower than normal rate. So that's a very common cause of loss of mental sharpness, or as many women have called it to me. Men don't ever describe it this way, but women often say, I just have brain fog. I can't balance a checkbook like I used to, and I go into a room, I can't remember what I was looking for, and I forget names, and maybe I've got Alzheimer's. No, it's not. It's the inevitable decline in your hormones, which get imbalanced, and it adversely affects your thyroid hormone. Plus, it can also be caused by individuals when they have yeast problems. And we'll talk about that in another podcast. And if you've had recurrent use of antibiotics over your lifetime and have had recurrent yeast infections, you'll have yeast in your colon, which produces toxins, which can adversely affect your ability to think clearly. So, in fact, I think of a lady that comes to our center who has had recurrent sinus infections 2 to 3 times a year for as long as she can remember. And she's in her 50s or early 60s now, and for 30, 40 years, ever since she was a teenager, she's just had antibiotic use with recurrent female yeast infections, and it's never been treated. What hadn't been treated? Her yeast problems. She has yeast in the colon. We're going to talk about that. And the toxins produced by the yeast adversely affect the immune system, can adversely affect your ability to think clearly. And that's a big problem. So you're eating healthy, getting rid of yeast, and replenishing hormones are very important in order for you to have sharp mental thought process. Next is PMS. Now, you may notice at certain times of the month, your wife or your girlfriend may seem edgier, more irritable than she does at other times. Sometimes she may be perfectly sweet, but it may be you notice at certain times of the month she's feeling irritable. You don't want to say, could it be your hormones, because she'll bite your head off if you do that. But it can be caused by that, and this is called premenstrual symptom, and it causes mood swings, fluid retention, weight gain, breast tenderness, headaches. These are very common symptoms that women experience, and it may happen a few days before her menstrual period. It may happen a week before, but as she marches through her menstrual life year by year, it begins to become a bigger part of that month. So they start right in the middle of her cycle, and she's feeling that way half the month. And this is due to a very simple problem which we've described, and it's hormonal decline and imbalance, and it can be easily corrected with natural progesterone. And it's a godsend. Now, you don't wait to menopause till you take your female hormones. As soon as you begin to have symptoms of hormonal imbalance, that's when you take them. And you don't take birth control pills, for crying out loud. Those are counterfeit drugs that mimic hormones. They're unnatural, and they'll suppress the natural production of your hormones. You simply replenish what your body is currently making, but not in adequate amounts to balance out. And that's done based on a clinical basis. We've treated here at the center somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 to 25,000 women, most of whom have had these hormonal imbalances, and progesterone has been a godsend, natural bioidentical progesterone. Now, I've seen a lot of different doctors treat this, but you know what? They don't have the experience that we have here. I wrote the book on it, for crying out loud, Hormones, Health, and Happiness, which many doctors that want to go into bioidentical hormones read and try to figure out how to do it. And I'm sure there's some that figure out how to do it right. But we see many individuals come over that have seen other physicians and have convinced them to put them on bioidentical hormones, and they didn't have them on the right dose at all. And they didn't give them any relief. It's all dose related, and it's all based upon a doctor's clinical experience in having dealt with women. So we base our hormonal treatment not upon a blood test, because a female's hormones will change every day during a menstrual cycle. She's going to have changes in her estrogen and progesterone levels. So you have to treat it based upon her clinical symptoms, her age, her size, and her symptoms.
Oh, and Dr. Hotze, it's also about the quality of the prescription as well. Isn't that right?
This is so important. So you get bioidentical hormones, which are natural progesterone and natural estrogen, as well as testosterone for males and a little bit for females, and thyroid. You purchase cortisol from a compounding pharmacy. Not all compounding pharmacies are equal. We know that because we have done studies, tested the hormones from other compounding pharmacies. We here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center have Hotze Pharmacy, which I established back in 2001 because I had a lot of our guests who were going to a lot of different pharmacies around, and some people did really well, and some people didn't do well, and I couldn't figure out. I said, well, some of the pharmacies they were going were Jake leg pharmacies. By that I mean they were mom and pop shops. They were selling all the pharmaceutical drugs in front. They had some, low key individual they sent to a course to learn how to make these hormones, and had them in the back making 10 or 15 prescriptions a week. Well, we do 500 a day. So we've got our systems and procedures down. We're a member of the Pharmacy Accreditation Board, PCAB, and only 300 compounding pharmacies, no more, I think it's about 300 plus or minus a few, since 2005, are accredited by the Pharmacy Compounding Accreditation Board. There are over 20,000 compounding pharmacies across the country, but only 300 can be accredited because the rest of them don't do a large enough volume that they can even afford to test the drugs like they're required to do. So I want to tell you, it's very, very important for you to make sure you get the highest quality prescription compounded hormones available, and they're available right here at Hotze Health and Wellness Center. If you're going to spend money on bioidentical hormones and on having yourself evaluated, then you should make sure you get the highest quality to give you the best opportunity to have the most favorable and beneficial results.
Absolutely.
Okay, I should have mentioned too, under PMS, headaches is very common, and migraine headaches are a very common problem that we see in women. And if the headaches occur, gentlemen, every month at the same time, and they happen premenstrually, you can be assured they're tied to the imbalance of the female hormones. They're not due to a low level of Cafragot or any one of the other very expensive migraine medications that the doctors give. You ask a doctor, most of these conventional doctors, when a woman goes in and complains of the headaches, and they say, well, you have migraine headaches, and they go, okay, and they just give them a prescription. The question should always be, why do I have migraines? And most of them say, well, I don't know, you just get them. It could be caused by your diet or something else. But it's obvious if the doctor take a history, it's menstrual in most cases. Now, another big problem in causing migraine headaches is low magnesium levels. So I think you experienced that. Well, Stacy had told me several years back she was having all these migraines, and I said, gee, could it be low magnesium? Try some magnesium. Took magnesium and you were taking, what were you taking? What was the medication you were taking? Zomig, which costs
a triptan drug, $50 a pill.
$50 a pill. And magnesium costs maybe a dime or something like that.
And it's better for you, and it's
natural.
It's natural. Exactly.
So anyway,
it took years to figure that out, but I was so glad when I finally did it, because migraines and headaches in general are debilitating.
They can be. So we've talked about four things. We've talked about decline that are caused by hormone imbalances and declines: energy level, weight gain, brain fog, and premenstrual symptoms, which are headaches, mood swings, fluid retention, weight gain, breast tenderness. Fifth thing is irregular menstrual cycles. What governs a woman's menstrual cycles? Hormones. So as a woman marches through her menstrual life and she has the decline in progesterone and the estrogen hormones become the dominant hormones, they're the proliferative hormones. So they cause proliferation in the inner lining of the womb, and the periods become heavier. So a woman may have period, lasting 3 to 5 days, and light to moderate. And then several years later, maybe after childbirth, because the ovaries have shut off during childbirth, they got to turn back on. If they don't turn on adequately and you have an imbalance of the hormones, next thing you know, the periods are lasting 5 to 7 days, and they're moderate, starting to get a little heavier. Then a few years later, there's 7 to 9 days, and they're getting clotting and cramping and severe pain. Now, this can happen in a woman at puberty. So we talk about a bell-shaped curve. Sometimes it happens to women early in their menstrual life. Sometimes it happens in midlife, around 35 to 40. Some of it happens as they approach the change of life, menopause, inevitably. And then they begin to have, oftentimes, intermenstrual bleeding. So between the menstrual period, they'll start spotting, maybe have periods that last 10, 12, 15 days. Well, no woman wants to live with that. And if the woman in your life is having those problems, it's hormonal. But she'll go to her OB-GYN, and her OB-GYN will say, I got a solution for that problem. We'll just yank out your uterus, young lady, and you won't have any more bleeding, which is true. You take out the uterus, you're not going to have any more menstrual bleeding. But that's not, the uterus is the end organ. What governs the uterus? The hormones. So if you're beginning to have, or if the woman in your life is beginning to have irregular cycles or heavier periods, that can be easily corrected with natural progesterone. And if it happens in your 30s, start taking it in your 30s. If it happens in your 20s, take it then. If you're having very irregular menstrual cycles and your daughter's having those and she's in her teens or early 20s, don't send her to an OB-GYN. He'll throw her on birth control pills, which will shut off her hormones and cause a host of health problems because they lead to breast cancer. And birth control pills also cause estrogen dominance and the symptoms of hypothyroid in women, and can cause them to feel depressed because they're counterfeit hormones. They're not natural. And I can't tell you the number of women that we've encouraged who have come in here who were on birth control pills when they get off them, we get them on their natural hormones, we balance everything out, and they feel good, and they feel normal. I remember this one woman that I saw, this goes back years ago, and she came in, and she'd been on birth control pill for 10 years, been depressed, and taking antidepressants and everything. I said, just get off of them. We're going to get you on natural hormones. She came back in the following month. She said, if I'd have known this, I'd have got off those 10 years ago. But I asked my doctor, could the birth control pills be making me feel depressed and gaining weight and tired? And no, they could never cause that problem. Well, that just shows you how little doctors, many doctors, how it shows you how many doctors have very little understanding or experience in using natural bioidentical hormones to help women regain their youthful vigor, their vim, their vitality for life. And finally, let's talk about romantic moods and inclinations. Have you noticed that even if you are sweet and you do bring home flowers and send cards, that you don't have the same reception that you used to have years ago? And you don't understand. She goes, I just don't feel up to it tonight. Now, she may tell you she has headaches, and guess what? That I found out that's not a make-up story. Many women have the problems with their headaches. We talked about you can get rid of that. But if a woman's romantic moods and inclinations are declined, yes, you should make sure you give her flowers when she doesn't expect it, and give her cards when she doesn't expect it, and take her out on a date night when she doesn't expect it. You should be sweet and kind and loving towards her, and you'll find you'll have a much better reception than if you're just, a boorish old boy, man. She's not going to like that too much. But still, even if a woman is receptive to your wooing of her, but she still may not feel up to the test. She just has lost her romantic moods and inclinations. And that's due to the inevitable decline of hormones. Now, what's interesting, a key hormone in a woman's desires is progesterone. Progesterone is very important. So as a woman loses her progesterone, as it begins to fall in midlife, then her romantic moods and inclinations will desire. Another hormone that also will increase a woman's romantic moods and inclinations, and God built into her anatomy, is testosterone. In the middle of a cycle, in a perfect world, there's a 28-day cycle. In the middle of the cycle, on day 14 or 15, a woman would ovulate, or should ovulate, if everything's working normally. And when she ovulates, she begins to make progesterone, high levels of progesterone to balance out the estrogen. But she also makes some testosterone. And it peaks that one day, because the egg lives for one day. It lives for one day, and there's only one day that egg can be fertilized. And so God has built into a woman's nature, when she ovulates, she's going to give off testosterone. Testosterone has a strong drive towards desiring of experiencing romantic and intimate relationships. So testosterone can be important too. A little bit of testosterone can help women with the romantic moods and inclinations. But really, the progesterone, which is almost identical in molecular structure to testosterone, has a really profound effect. So when women get estrogen dominance as they go 30s and 35 and 40, as they begin to have a loss of progesterone or the dominance of progesterone, some progesterone and a little thyroid go a long way to helping a woman restore her overall health, so she feels healthy and well, so she has energy, she's slim and trim, she's crisp in her thinking, she doesn't have those irritable mood swings that have plagued her in the past, her cycles become regular, and has open arms and a warm embrace for you when you come home. That's an explanation of 6 effects that you may see in the woman you love because she has an imbalance in her hormones. And these can be easily corrected with natural bioidentical hormones and with thyroid and a little bit of natural cortisol. So I hope this helps you, gentlemen, understand better why your wife or your sweetheart or the woman you love may be experiencing some difficulties. It's hormonal, but don't tell her that. But you might, feel free to get a copy of my book.
Absolutely.
Or you can go online and get it at Amazon.com. You can pay for it.
Or you can give us a call.
We
will send you a copy.
We'll send you a copy. I want you to have that because I know there are literally tens of millions of women out there that are experiencing very poor lifestyle right now. They want to get their life back. I remember this woman told me one time, I just want to get me back. I've lost me. I want myself back. I don't have it. And that's what happens when the hormones decline. So we can help you do that. Get a copy of the book, Hormones, Health, and Happiness. Call our office at
281-698-8698. 281-698-8698.
We'll be glad to send you a copy of that. I also want to recommend that you go to our website, hotzehwc.com, HOTZHWC.com. Click on the testimonials and listen to some of the women's testimonials. Besides that, here at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, we really focus on healthy eating lifestyle, replenishment of hormones, vitamin and mineral supplementation to enable you to detoxify the toxins that are in your system, and then an exercise program. Of course, if you have yeast problems, we address that, and we also address airborne and food allergies when indicated. That's what we do, and our goal is to help you obtain and maintain health and wellness naturally so that you enjoy a better quality of life as you mature.
Absolutely, Dr. Hotze. Such great information. We're so glad you joined us today. And you can also call us for a complimentary health consultation. We'd love to be able to do that for you and to serve you. You can call us at 281-698-8698. That's 281-698-8698. Thank you for joining us today here at Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution.
A special thanks to Physicians Preference Pharmacy, formerly Hotze Pharmacy, proud sponsor of Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution podcast.
Information provided on this radio program is neither intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice and is not intended to replace the services of a physician, nor does it constitute a doctor-patient relationship. You should not use information from this radio program to diagnose or treat a health problem or disease without consulting with a qualified healthcare provider. If you have or suspect you have an urgent medical problem, promptly contact a professional healthcare provider or call 911. Dr. Hotze's Wellness Revolution radio program advises you to always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new treatment or with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Any application of the recommendations from this radio program is at the listener's discretion.